Maybe it's early morning. Coffee in hand, that quiet, thick air still hanging around before the day really gets going. You scan the yard, clothesline, fence, that patch of grass you keep forgetting to water, and then up there, on the power line, this small white bird with a yellow crown just sitting there, staring at you. 1 second of silence. Then it screams. Not scared, not alarmed, just screams. Loud and sharp and weirdly deliberate, like it's making an announcement. You laugh, walk back inside, think nothing of it. But here's what you didn't see. In that exact moment, every bird, every animal, basically everything with ears, within a 2-mile radius just got a message about you, specifically about you. And it wasn't just noise, it was a broadcast. Most people hear a cockatoo and think, loud bird, annoying, maybe a little funny, move on. But scientists who've actually spent years out there, microphones pressed against trees, spectrographs running through the night, they've started picking up on something that completely changes that picture. Cockatoos don't just call, they coordinate. And honestly, the thing they're coordinating around, more often than you'd expect, is you. The human who just walked into their line of sight. There's a system running around you right now that nobody really talks about. A living surveillance network built over millions of years, older than language, older than cities, older than anything we'd call civilization. This isn't speculation. The science backs it up. The real question is, what exactly are they saying? And here's why that actually matters. We spend so much energy thinking about how other people see us, what we're projecting, how we come across. But while we're doing all that, there's a whole other world right above our heads passing judgment too. And this is the part people miss. That world is more accurate than ours. Cockatoos don't have ego. They don't assume. They watch, they process, they transmit. They've been doing it way longer than we've been around. And they'll keep doing it long after we're gone. By the end of this, you won't be able to walk outside the same way. Not because it's scary, but because once you understand what's actually happening up in that canopy, the world doesn't feel smaller. It feels bigger. Okay, let's actually set the scene. You're not the first person to walk down your street today. Your neighbor left at 6:47 this morning. The postman rolled through around 8:15. That kid with the skateboard cut through the alley sometime after 9. Every single one of those movements was logged, not in a database, not on paper, in the memory of a flock that's been watching your neighborhood longer than any of its current human residents have actually lived there. Cockatoos have what researchers call a sentinel system, and it's not just instinct in that vague hand-wavy sense. It's a real structured role. Certain birds in the flock are designated watchers. While everyone else eats, preens, socializes, the sentinel's job is just to observe, specifically to observe the large, slow-moving bipeds that keep appearing below. And here's what's wild. These sentinels are usually the older birds, the experienced ones. They've had enough time to build what ornithologists actually call individual recognition profiles, not just human as a category. This human, the one in the red jacket, the one who always looks up, the one who sometimes has a dog, they remember you. Studies on cockatoo cognition show long-term memory for specific faces, human and bird, that compete with primates. So when they react to you, they're not guessing, they're retrieving. You step outside and the sentinel doesn't just clock movement, it cross-references. Are you moving fast or slow? Hands empty or full? Heading toward the nest tree or away from it? All of that, processed in seconds, and then the broadcast begins. Okay, so here's where it gets really layered. The cockatoo doesn't just announce you with one generic call. The sound actually changes depending on what it's assessed about you, and if you listen closely, like really closely, you can start to hear the difference. There's this short, rapid burst, 3 to 5 quick notes that's basically a low-priority heads-up. Someone's here, nothing urgent, carry on. It's the call most of us hear every day and completely tune out. Then there's the extended alarm scream. Longer, higher, sent out repeatedly in a way that carries across open space. That one gets saved for when you've been flagged as unpredictable. Maybe you came home 3 hours earlier than usual. Maybe you're carrying something the bird hasn't seen before. Maybe you walked toward the flock instead of away from it. And between those two, There's a whole grammar happening. Researchers at the Australian National University catalogued over 40 distinct cockatoo vocalizations used specifically around humans. At least 11 of them seem to carry actual directional and behavioral detail, not just human present, more like human, moving east, slow, carrying something, no immediate threat. That's not a call, that's a report. And the other animals nearby, the ravens, the possums, the smaller parrots, they understand it. Not perfectly, but enough. A 2019 field study found that at least 6 other species changed their movement patterns in direct response to cockatoo calls about humans, even when those animals couldn't see the human themselves. You were announced, and the whole neighborhood responded. Okay, stay with me here, because this one sounds ridiculous at first, until it doesn't. Cockatoos, like most birds with complex social lives, are wired to notice contrast. Anything that breaks the usual visual pattern gets flagged immediately. That's not a quirk, that's survival. In a world where predators stay camouflaged and danger rarely announces itself early, your brain learns fast to pay attention to anything that looks different. So practically speaking, that bright orange jacket you threw on this morning, the cockatoo on your fence noticed and logged it. Color signals have actually been documented as triggers for distinct calls in several parrot species. A human they see regularly, in their usual neutral-colored clothes, gets a short, low-intensity response. That same person shows up in something unusually bright or dark, and suddenly the call is longer, louder, broader. Even if everything else about that person's behavior is exactly the same, and the logic makes sense when you think about it. To the bird's threat assessment brain, looking different means potentially acting differently, and something that might act differently from the norm is, by definition, worth broadcasting. Your fashion choices are genuinely ornithological intelligence data. I know that sounds absurd, but here we are. It goes further though. Posture, speed, eye contact, this one especially. Sustained direct eye contact from a human triggers elevated alarm responses in cockatoos because in the animal world, things that stare are things that hunt. That's just what staring means out there. And here's the part that kind of gets me. When you walk outside and the cockatoo goes quiet instead of calling, that silence is communication too. It means you passed, you're known, categorized, filed away. You're not a variable anymore. Think about the ecosystem above your house as an actual network, not as a metaphor, functionally as a network. The cockatoo is one node, but the information it puts out doesn't stay local. Magpies pick it up. Butcherbirds act on it. Even species that don't share the same acoustic frequency seem to respond, reacting to the behavioral ripple triggered by the alarm, the sudden lift of wings, a shift in foraging direction, a change in where a bird decides to perch. This is called eavesdropping, and it's one of the most studied things in modern behavioral ecology. The idea is that species have actually evolved to pull survival-relevant information from the communications of other species, not just their own kind. And what that produces in practice is a cascade. One cockatoo calls. The ravens 2 trees over adjust. The magpies on the fence shift their gaze. The honeyeater stops singing and just listens. And you, walking to your car, coffee in hand, completely unaware, you're at the center of an information event rippling outward through at least a dozen species at once. A team of ecologists studying Australian suburban wildlife actually caught this cascade happening in real time using acoustic sensors. The moment a sulfur-crested cockatoo produced a human-specific alarm call, measurable behavioral changes were detected across the monitored animal community. Within 11 seconds. 11. By the time you've made it to your front gate, the message about you has already traveled further and faster than you physically can. And here's the last layer. Honestly, this is the one that reframes everything else. Cockatoos don't just react to you in the moment. Over time, they map you. Ornithologists studying long-term cockatoo behavior in suburban areas have found that flocks actually maintain something like predictive models of the humans who live nearby, where you go, when, how often, how you act in different situations. Think about that for a second. It's not really a safe zone in the way we'd use that phrase. It's more like a zone of prediction they build around you. And if you're consistent, same routine, same movements, same general behavior, that zone stabilizes. Predictable humans get shorter calls, less attention, lower alert status. The flock has basically decided you're a known quantity and moved on. But the moment you break that pattern, come home at a weird hour, park somewhere different, wander into a corner of the yard you never usually go near, the whole thing collapses. You become unknown again. Just like that. The sentinel reactivates, the broadcast resumes, and you're back to being a variable. This is cognitive cartography. The flock is drawing an invisible map, and you're on it, updating it every day, adjusting based on new information, quietly revising their read on you with every single observation. You are a data point in a living model of the world, one that's been running without a single interruption for thousands of years. So take those 5 layers: the Sentinel protocol, the vocal grammar, the appearance profiling, the interspecies cascade, the behavioral mapping. And here's the thing most people don't stop to consider. They don't run separately. They run simultaneously. Every time you step outside, all of it is active. All of it is running at once, and the whole system converges into a single transmitted conclusion that gets pushed outward through the ecosystem before you've even made it to the letterbox. And now, here's where it stops being just interesting science. The cockatoo isn't warning the other animals about you. It's warning you through them. Some of the most recent research on cockatoo alarm behavior suggests that the broadcast function, the one that seems so focused on logging humans, may have a second purpose, one that completely flips the whole model on its head. Predator activity: a snake moving through the undergrowth, a feral cat crouched low behind the bins. These things don't announce themselves to you. You can't see them, you can't hear them, you'd walk right past them without knowing, but the cockatoo can. And the alarm call it produces, the one you've been dismissing as noise your entire life, carries information about where that threat is, not just that something's there. Where? You've been walking past that information every single morning. The bird on the power line wasn't broadcasting your location to the ecosystem. It was, in its own ancient way, broadcasting the ecosystem status back to you. Every time it screams when you open the door, it may be saying, "Something moved down there, watch yourself." You just never learn the language. Go back to that morning. Coffee in hand, quiet yard. Cockatoo on the wire, staring right at you. You thought it was screaming about you, but maybe, just maybe, it was screaming for you. The world above your roof has been paying closer attention to your life than you've ever paid to it. And it's been trying to communicate the whole time. All you had to do was listen differently.